Good morning. I thought I'd just put the camera on. We're in the woods, as you can tell. It's so still, so silent. I can hear the hum of something, but I don't know what it is. Could be my ears, of course. But yeah, it's nice. I'm going to turn the camera around a moment. Isn't it lovely? Just look through there. There's a path that I believe the deer walk along, and they've actually made the path. And they go across here, this little track, and go under a gate there and into the woodland. This is beautiful. I love it in here. It's where I really unwind and chill out. As long as the dogs aren't chasing something. But this is bliss. I wonder what I can hear. I'm sure it's not my ears. Anyway, let's catch up again shortly. Well, that was interesting. No sooner did I mention deer than one came into sight further up the path. Molly caught sight of it and she was off. So we've been running up the path. I've been screaming for Molly. Luna's been tailing behind, wondering what on earth we're chasing. But fortunately, these deer, they know the woods, and it got away, as you'd expect. And Molly's only a small dog. Yes, so that's been exciting. I don't know whether it will be in this wood somewhere, and we may see it further up. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture that on film, which would have been lovely, although also not good timing because obviously I had to chase Molly. But yeah, we're further up now on top of the hill, so you can hear the road. But it's still, I feel as though we've got this to ourselves today, which is lovely. Anyway, I'm not holding this very well. I wasn't expecting to film, to be honest. Anyway, I will catch up with you again very shortly. I've got a couple of bits to show you at home, and we'll get stuck into the video. Hi, well, I'm back home now, and I'm in the dining room, and there's a couple of things I want to show you that I've been doing. We had a lovely weekend. Saturday was really warm. Sunday was quite foggy, but all in all, it was a really good weekend. And I noticed when I looked out the window that I had a few dahlias. I had some cafe au lait that had flowered, and I hadn't realised it was still flowering. I also have Molly Raven from Sarah Raven. They're still flowering in the courtyard part. And so I've done a couple of arrangements. They're tiny little things. I thought I'd show you because I didn't know what to do with them. I haven't got much in the garden at all. So I'll just show you what I've done. Well, here we are. I've just got some jars I've kept, actually. Some of them, I think most of them are probably olive oil jars. But I've just popped them. One flower. These are amazing, aren't they? These cafe au lait. Sorry, my light in here is not terribly good. I popped them in a jar with a little bit of Molly Raven. Absolutely stunning colour. And the leaves, believe it or not, are peony leaves. So they're really, the peonies finished ages ago, but the leaves, look at this one. The leaves were really beautiful, and I thought I needed something with these flowers. And I was really quite pleased with the overall effect. Each time I walk in, I can't believe how wonderful this looks. And actually, I have to say, in this instance, it looks better in real life. Down here, I did this a few days ago now. This is cotoneus, or smoke bush from the garden. And down below, if you can see there, these are crab apples from the crabapple trees. So I I just chopped off some low-hanging branches which really needed to go anyway and put them together, and I'm rather pleased with how sort of autumnal that looks. They're lovely colours again. Here we go, Luna's coming to have a look. Yes! And then over here, this one needs to go. This I did last week, no, the week before I think. So that needs to go now because that's all gone over. But I do like the simplicity of these very simple arrangements. And I've got the back of them here. I don't come around this side. There we go. I'd share that. Right, so this week, or last week actually, I was thinking, what will I talk about this week? And whilst I was thinking about that, the postman arrived and he dropped through various things, but I received a booklet from a company I've been working with since I qualified, possibly even before I qualified, which is the Natural Dispensary. And they put together a lovely booklet for people like myself, therapists. And there are articles in there, products that they represent and sell. And there's a few things I thought were really up our street. Us being ladies in our mid-years, perimenopause, postmenopause, looking at longevity and how we're going to live a long, healthy life. And there's lots of interesting things in here. And I've highlighted a few I thought I'd share with you. So the first one is a trial that was carried out, and it was based on the UK Eat Well guide over 8 weeks. And it demonstrated, and I'll quote, that those following a minimally processed diet ate fewer calories and lost twice as much weight as those that followed the guidelines with an ultra-processed food diet. The ultra-processed food diet still led to weight loss, but participants experienced stronger cravings and less satiety. So I've spoken before about ultra-processed foods. There's a lot of chemicals in there, a lot of imbalance in sugars and salts, and sometimes a lack of nutrition altogether, which leads us to eat more in general. Because as I mentioned when I spoke about protein, apparently we will keep eating food until we've got enough protein. And with ultra-processed foods, often there's more sort of, let's say, high sugar carbs in there with many of them. Now, I also listened, which I do want to do a chat about this another time, to Dr. Robert Lustig, who I think is an amazing doctor and researcher. And he was talking about ultra-processed foods and how he's been working with Kuwait and a company over there and helping them to, because they're an ultra-processed food company and they want to be part of a solution, not the problem. And so thankfully they've recognised that foods they produce can be problematic and they want to resolve that. So he's been working with them for several years, and apparently they've worked on not only finding out the sort of a matrix of what we need and what's really supportive and what isn't, but also he's worked on about 10% of their food line and made those ultra processed foods actually health promoting. So I think that's really exciting. If that could go out further into other countries and other highly processed food businesses, you know, people do want the ease of these processed foods. Lives are so busy, we don't always have time to put meals together. It should be a priority, but our lives have changed so much. So I thought that was very interesting. So following an Eat Well guide, and there are a few that aren't so good actually, but just by taking out the ultra processed foods, the benefits were seen to be much higher. So that was number one. And then we've spoken about sleep before. And this one is titled 172 Diseases Are Associated with Poor Sleep. And that's more than I ever imagined, actually. So this was another prospective study, looked at links between sleep behaviour and disease. And they found that poor sleep doubled the risk of 42 diseases and increased the risk of a further 92 diseases by 20%. Those with the highest attributable risk included Parkinson's, heart disease, and obesity. And we've said this before that, you know, if if you have poor sleep, if weight is an issue for you, weight loss is going to be harder. So working on good sleep is really important. And I think if it's 172 associated, some doubling in risk, others by risk increasing by 20%, 92 diseases by 20%. It's, I hate to use the expression, but it is a no-brainer. You know, sleep's really important. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. The next little one, these are just snippets. These are little bite-sized bits of information which just excite me. I have to say, I do get excited. 4 key lifestyle interventions could delay cognitive decline. And those of you who follow me know I'm interested in cognitive decline. And it starts off with, it demonstrated that physical activity, so we've mentioned you've got to move, that gets everything going through the body, also supports good mitochondria, which are little energy units, so that's important. Improving nutrition, yep, that's my bag. Cognitive and social challenge. Now I take that to be things like crosswords and Sudoku, things that will just make you stop and think a bit. And I completed a cryptic crossword the other day, haven't done a cryptic one for years, and for some reason I didn't give up and I completed it, apart from the last word, which I knew what it was, but I didn't actually understand how the clue and the word came together. But, you know, I got through the rest of it, so I'm quite happy there. Health monitoring. Now this was interesting, involving testing and goal setting. And it improves cognition in older adults at risk of cognitive decline. And it also says here, which is something that's new for me and quite interesting, I do know that structured programs or group activity can be beneficial to some, but it says here, greater improvements were seen in those on a structured program compared to those self-guiding, highlighting the benefit of a team-based approach. And I think when we're accountable to others, or, you know, other people are doing something, we're more likely to do it. If you're going to the gym on your own, then if it's pouring with rain outside, you're more likely to think, I can't be bothered. But if you know Jenny's popping round to meet you to go, or you're going to meet Jenny there, you're going to go. So teamwork, having a partner to go with, or finding a group that you really like to be with, and that's going to be that draw when sometimes it gets a bit tough. So what next? And then we've got to some rather large reports. This one I'm going to quote from a lady called Natasha Richardson. She's a medical herbalist and has an MST in the history of women's medicine from the University of Oxford. So she's written an article on women's health and blood sugar at all ages. And I just wanted to read one little bit about menopause, which I don't know that I've spoken about on my videos. I have discussed this before elsewhere, but Western cultures often marginalise older women, and this cultural undervaluing can worsen perimenopausal symptoms by stripping this transition of social meaning and support. And this is interesting because one of the things I wanted to achieve going into these latter years was I wanted to become the wise woman, not the, she's getting on a bit, just ignore her, put her in the corner. I want to be like in some tribes where women of mature years become revered. They become the wise women. They become very central to the tribe, to those people in that community, because they've had experience. They've learned a lot through the years. They see things from a different angle. I think we're calmer as we get older in many instances, not everybody, but we can, you know, I think we let go of some ego. I think that's important. I think there's a whole gamut of changes that occur. And I was referred to probably 2 years ago as the wise woman by somebody I respect, and but not to my face, but as a reference to me, to somebody else. And I thought, I could tick that box just the once, mind you, but So I thought that was interesting. So that can actually affect us, apparently. So it really is, I don't know, an important part that if we can in our culture help support that revered older age and not ignored, because there is an element where you do become invisible to some people, and actually we have a lot to offer. And so I think together we can push that forward. So that was particularly what I wanted to mention from that article. The next one, again, came in about menopause. This is about the power in the pause, optimizing health in perimenopause. And this is an article by Kelly Hafner. She's a nutritional therapist and certified nutrigenomics practitioner. And I wanted again to read a few quotes from this. So each woman's experience is shaped by a constellation of factors, including genetics, nutrition, environment, immune status, and lived experience. And rather than viewing perimenopause as an inevitable decline, it can be reframed as an opportunity to optimize vitality, prevent chronic disease, and extend health span. And this is exactly what I want to achieve and what I want to share on these videos. So I thought straight away, this girl is on my page. So lovely. And she talks about the nervous system. And this is something I haven't talked about as yet. Not in any detail anyway on these videos. But she talks about the chronic sympathetic activation. That's our fight or flight response. This is where we're stressed, anxious, worked up. So this can suppress, and we've talked about this, reproductive hormones, disrupt our circadian rhythm, i.e. sleep, impair digestion and heighten anxiety and sleep disturbances. So basically this is on the axis, it's called the HPA, it's the hypothalamic, pituitary and adrenals. I need to do more cognitive practice, don't I? Yes. Right. And then it says after menopause, the adrenal glands, which just sit just above the kidneys, take on a greater role in estrogen production. So when our ovaries decline, the adrenals, they produce some estrogen as well, and they take on the mainstay of the production post-menopause after the ovaries have stopped. So if we are in a heightened stress state, those adrenals which produce the stress hormones are really working very hard, and that can impair the adrenal's ability to produce enough estrogen. And we've talked about how estrogen is good for the brain health, for our cognitive ability, and how it's all over the body. And so if we enter perimenopause and menopause in a heightened stressed state, this can have a very negative impact on how we go through that period and how we feel, behave, and our health after as well. So so it's talking about encouraging the parasympathetic, where we're sort of very much chilled out. And the recommendations here are great ones, actually. Breath work, I think we've spoken about that in the videos. Meditation, I'm not sure if I've spoken about meditation so far, can't recall. Yoga and time in nature, which you know I love. The time in nature is me. And I do breathe actually when I'm outside. It really is good. And this really lowers the cortisol levels, which is the main stress hormone. And we've mentioned before how it's related to good sleep. So I think actually I'm going to finish there. There's a bit more, but I think we've covered quite a lot of info today. But that was really, I think, a fabulous little booklet. I get this every quarter. And there's usually really good articles, really good bits of snippets of research. There's a recommendation on supplements in here as well. Now, when I have sufficient subscribers, I would like to set up a shop with this business for my subscribers, which is something that I could do, but I really need enough people to do that. And I want to be able to recommend products that I use, products that I think are particularly useful around this time. And although I don't speak about supplements because I think they're very personalised, I want to be able to put something together that is useful with information about how to go about establishing whether this is suitable for you. Because if we take singular supplements, we can cause an imbalance in the rest of the body. If we're taking a multivitamin, a multi-supplement, then it's less likely because the levels are much lower. So that's something I'd like to do in the long run. I do need to do something about building my audience, which if you would be happy to help me with that by sharing this with somebody who may benefit, I would be delighted and most grateful. And if you could like and subscribe if you did like this, that would be helpful, so I know I'm on the right track with information for everybody. So I want to share a bit more of my lifestyle as we go forward, and yeah, create a community of like-minded women so that we are the wise women and we're revered and we feel great in ourselves. That's really key. So thank you very much for joining me again this week. I hope to see you again soon, and take care. Thank you very much.